time in Paris, we flew to Athens, and when we first arrived in Athens, we stayed right near the port because we were taking the high-speed ferry the next morning really early. We had to arrive around 5 a.m. So we stayed right near the port, and I honestly wouldn't really recommend this unless you were taking the ferry because it wasn't the nicest place to walk around, especially being in a foreign country for the first time. You weren't really sure what was safe, what was, what were the good places to go. So we stayed really close to our Airbnb, which was fine because we just had a night there and we wanted to rest up after a tiring time in Paris. So we just walked along the water and went to dinner, and we got this fried cheese. It was kind of like little cornflakes, breaded fried cheese. It was delicious. And we got a pasta seafood, and I'm very westernized, so as I get kind of squeamish with that kind of stuff, but I tried it anyways.
How do I eat it? Just all this? Oh, I don't think I like this. Okay. It's not awful, but I wouldn't choose to eat it. Sort of like the little leggies and the eyeballs. It's okay, we're being brave.
And then we got up really early, and then we went to the high-speed ferry. And some ferries to Santorini take about 9 hours, but this took about 4:45, and it was very luxurious inside. And then we arrived in Santorini, and the port was utter chaos. When you first got off, there were a lot of people standing with name signs, and we assumed that this was for tours, for something like that, but actually those were the car services, which we didn't realize. So we were walking around trying to find our car because we rented a car. So eventually we called our guy and we found our car, and this car was a putt-putt, and Santorini is on the top of the island, so all of the streets are very narrow and very steep, and there are tour buses everywhere. So driving was stressful and difficult, and we were literally just not sure if the car was going to make it up the hill, but Daniel did a great job, and we made it everywhere safely. The car never broke down, thank goodness. And then we were staying in Fira for the first night, the capital of Santorini, and it's right in the middle of the island, and we stayed in a cave suite, which was an absolute dream. It was so cool. Everything was just carved into the stone. Parking was a little bit confusing because we weren't really sure. We looked online and it said you can park pretty much anywhere, which was actually true, but it was still a little nerve-wracking because there weren't really signs and people were just truly parked anywhere, so we weren't exactly sure what was a street, what was not a street, what was a parking spot, but it all worked out fine. But the streets are very narrow, so once we went down the wrong way, and it was really difficult to turn around, so just be careful where you drive. But we stayed in this cave suite, and it's actually a hotel, but you got to pick a specific room, which was really great and important because we knew exactly what we were gonna get, which was even more important with Ia, which I'll talk about later. But we met our guide George, which is the name of our puppy, which was so just a little special nod to our family back home, and he was so sweet. He gave us a little treat, some champagne to celebrate. It was really lovely. And then we walked into the town of Fira, walked around, saw a lot of shops, and I got this beautiful gold ring as a little souvenir. And it actually broke in half suddenly while we were in Athens, but I got it fixed, so it's fine. But it was not ideal because it was real gold, so it wasn't cheap. But anyways, we just walked around and enjoyed the views.
First impressions of Greece.
It's extremely hot.
Very hot, but the most beautiful place I've ever been in my life.
Yeah, it's stunning.
Yeah.
Water is blue.
The views, spectacular everywhere. The white buildings.
Can't complain.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Specifically the islands here in Greece.
Well, yeah. Athens was less, but we'll see more of it. But yeah. And I bought this beautiful little Key of Life ring, and it's real gold, so I'm gonna wear it forever.
The other islands that we went by on the ferry look very nice too, though.
Yeah.
Like Naxos and Mykonos and what is it? Ois or
Eos.
Eos.
But this one has the traditional, most traditional looking buildings of we want the quintessential.
There's
which is
more.
why I chose it. Yeah.
Much more, and there's also tons of cruise boats coming in.
Well, but every island. Yeah. But I'm in love, and also I think my camera might be dead forever, but it's okay because we move on, and I love it here, and I don't care.
So we walked around Fira and saw the little shops and all the beautiful views, and then we went a little bit north to Amirovigli, and Fira and Amirovigli are on the way to Ia, but Ia is on the northmost tip, and we are going there the next day, so we didn't need to go there, but we just walked around through the villages, and it was really beautiful, very cool seeing all the unique architecture. then we stopped for lunch. We got some hummus and pita and more cheese and just enjoyed a beautiful view. And then we went back and enjoyed the hot tub, and then we went back downtown Fira for some late night gyros. And then the next morning we checked out and we went to our sea kayak tour, which was on the southernmost tip of the island. This is how we chose to see red and white beaches, because you aren't able to get to these beaches unless you're on a boat or in the water. And it's actually not safe to go to Red Beach because there's a lot of landslides with the dirt and stuff like that. So it's actually kind of dangerous to go there, even though people do. So this was a safe, cool, athletic way. My arms were definitely sore to see the two beaches that I wanted to see. And we were supposed to see a Tora sea cave, which I was actually really excited about, but the waves were so intense coming back that it took us much longer to get back. It wasn't a long kayak trip, but it took us longer, so we missed the sea caves, which was a big bummer, but that's all right. And then we went to our Ia Airbnb, and we were met with a porter, this guy who just took our suitcases and threw them over his shoulder and brought us to our Airbnb. So I felt so bougie, so luxurious. It was kind of wild. And we walked through the village of Ia into our Airbnb. And the reason we chose an Airbnb over a hotel was because we wanted to know exactly what we were going to get. Because you go to Ia for the sunset, you go to Ia for the white houses on the cliff, right? And I wanted to make sure that I was getting just that, because sometimes when you book at a hotel chain, you don't exactly know where your view is going to be, if you're going to see the sunset or if you're going to be among the cave houses and stuff. So that's why I thought it was so important to book an Airbnb. From Ia, we are staying in this beautiful cave suite. I'm so lucky and blessed and thankful to be here. Yeah, it's amazing. We got here just a few hours ago, and our host came and said hi to us and everything, and now we're just relaxing, got ready, prepped for dinner, and we're going to Dimitri's Taverna on a Moody Bay. So I'm very excited to that. It's like a 5-minute walk. So we're literally like right, as you can see, in the tip of Ia. Haven't really explored it yet because we just got here, but we had the sea kayak this morning, which was cool. Yeah, it's beautiful. I love Greece and I'm so thankful to be here. And then that night we went down to a Moody Bay, so our Airbnb was literally overlooking a Moody Bay, and we had dinner at Dimitri's Tavern, which was right on the water. We made a reservation through our Airbnb host, but that night it was like pretty empty, so I'm unsure when would be a good time to make a reservation, but we did just in case, and it worked out just fine. And we were literally sitting on the water, and we got, I think it was a sea bass maybe. It was delicious. We met some cat friends, and we watched the sunset literally on the water. It was perfect. And then we walked back up and we enjoyed the hot tub for the rest of the sunset. And then the next morning we woke up early to go through and walk through the village without all the people. Ia was kind of stressful to walk through because the streets are so narrow and it was so crowded because everyone wants to go there, obviously, because it's beautiful. But that's another reason I was so thankful to have our Airbnb, because we had the beautiful balcony to sit at and the hot tub, and we could enjoy the beauty of Ia and the uniqueness of this location without dealing with the crowds. I get a lot of anxiety when I'm in a crowd, so walking around with everybody else wasn't really ideal, but we could still have this little peaceful oasis among this paradise without having to deal with other people. And this Airbnb was amazing. We had breakfast delivered every morning, and we had this Greek yogurt, which was the best thing I've ever eaten. It was not tart at all. It was smooth. It was like a cloud, and it had the most delicious honeydew ever. I didn't know I liked honeydew, but I do like it in Greece. It was so sweet and juicy and delicious. And then we headed back to rest, have a little espresso on our balcony. And then we headed to a vineyard. My husband really likes wine, so we wanted to check one out. And we actually just got lunch there. I got this lemony hazelnut pasta, which was really good. And on our way back from the vineyard, we stopped at Megalakori, which is supposed to be a more traditional village. It was kind of stressful again getting there because of the driving situation, but it was cool. It looked definitely a little bit less touristy, but we just stopped there for a second to see it, and then we decided to head back. And then we headed to get some euros again. And our Airbnb actually left us a list of recommendations, which was really cool.
Eating souvlaki, listening to ABBA from the boat in the bay, waiting for the sunset, and a little kitty comes. Hi, sweetie pie.
And so these euros were what she suggested, but we wanted to grab them and then sit on our balcony, enjoy the sunset in the hot tub, which was just truly a dream come true and exactly what I had envisioned for this trip. And I stayed in that hot tub until at least 1 a.m. because this was our last night in Santorini and I wanted to soak it all up to the very end. And then the next morning, we took a flight to Athens, and this time we were so pleasantly surprised. From our initial impression and also just from what I had read, I heard that Athens was kind of like dirty and dangerous, which is like, I'm used to cities. I lived in New York City for 6 years, but this was actually the opposite. It was gorgeous and clean, and there were a lot of cobblestone walking streets, which was so cool because then you would just look up and there was the Parthenon. It was just absolutely amazing to see this historical architecture and like temples everywhere walking along these adorable streets. It was very cool. We really genuinely loved Athens, and we got this delicious dinner outside, and then we just walked along and looked at all the shops and stuff like that. To finish off our first night in Athens, we enjoyed the view of the Parthenon from our Airbnb, and then we watched a little Hercules because obviously we were in Greece. So the next morning we went to the Parthenon, and we kind of hit a bad timing and we had to wait over an hour to enter, but the line moved quickly and it was actually okay. And it was also definitely worth it, seeing these temples up close and seeing all the columns and the detail. It was just so cool, and it was amazing to step into history. And I loved the temple with all the ladies, and those were actually, I believe, what the muses in Hercules were based off of, which was very fun and special. And then we actually ended up meeting up with one of my best friends, Alex, who I was on the Disney Wonder with. She's on the Disney Dream currently, and we happened to be in Athens on the same day, which was just absolutely amazing. Such a treat. I hadn't seen her since my wedding, so it was about a year ago, and it was just so special to see a close friend in Greece. And then we just finished off our time in Greece, walking around the streets, looking at the shops again, and we actually didn't really buy much. We just bought a couple things. I kind of wish we had bought more, especially in Santorini, but everything was so expensive and kind of difficult to travel with. And then we ended our honeymoon, and it was truly amazing. We felt so lucky and blessed to be there, and it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So if you missed our Paris vlog, that is the one right before this video, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.